The power of thoughts in shaping reality is something most people underestimate, yet it is the foundation of everything we experience in life. Think about it for a moment. Every action we take begins as a thought. Before a building is constructed, it is first imagined in the mind of an architect. Before a book is written, it exists as an idea in the mind of an author. Even the clothes you are wearing, the device you are holding, the very chair beneath you, all of these were once just thoughts in someone's mind. If thoughts can shape the physical world around us, imagine how deeply they shape our personal world, our emotions, and our future. A person who constantly thinks, "I cannot do this," is already defeated before they have taken a single step. On the other hand, someone who whispers to themselves, "I will find a way," begins to unlock doors they did not even know existed. Our reality bends to the direction of our focus. When you expect failure, you train your eyes to look for obstacles. But when you expect growth, you begin to notice opportunities where others see nothing but walls. There was once a farmer who planted two different seeds in the same soil, corn in one field, weeds in another. He tended both with the same care. The soil did not question what was placed within it. It simply produced what it was given. Our minds work in the same way. If we plant fear, doubt, and negativity, our lives will yield bitterness. But if we plant faith, courage, and hope, our lives will produce fruit that nourishes not only us, but also everyone who meets us. This is why it is said, "Change your thoughts, and you change your world." The greatest battles we face are not out in the world, but within our own minds. A positive mind is not about ignoring reality. It is about shaping how you respond to it. It is about choosing to see the rain as a blessing rather than a burden, to see a challenge as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. And once you master your thoughts, you begin to master your life, because reality always follows the direction of the mind. Positive thinking creates inner strength in ways that often go unnoticed until life tests us. Strength is not always about how much weight you can carry on your shoulders or how loudly you can shout in a room. True strength is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It is the ability to stand firm when everything around you tries to pull you down. And that kind of strength does not come from muscles. It comes from the mind. Imagine two people facing the same storm. One says, "This is the end. I cannot survive this." The other whispers, "This storm will pass. I will endure." The storm is the same, the winds are the same, but the outcomes are completely different because one has already surrendered while the other has chosen resilience. Positive thinking is like an anchor in the ocean of uncertainty. It keeps you grounded even when the waves try to sweep you away. There is a story about a young athlete who lost an important race. Instead of drowning in self-pity, he told himself, "This defeat is not a sign of weakness. It is a lesson that will prepare me for greater victories." That mindset became his strength. While others quit after setbacks, he used every loss as fuel to grow stronger. Eventually, he became a champion, not because he never failed, but because his inner strength, built on positive thoughts, gave him the courage to rise after every fall. Psychologists say that when we think positively, our brain releases chemicals that reduce stress and boost our ability to focus. In other words, positivity is not just a feeling. It is a form of energy that feeds resilience. It is the quiet voice inside you that says, "Try again," when the world tells you to quit. It is what helps you carry burdens with grace and face trials with hope. When you believe in better days, you gain the strength to endure the hard ones. And when you believe you are capable, you discover courage you never knew you had. Positive thinking does not erase difficulties. It arms you with the strength to overcome them. The influence of mindset on daily choices is far greater than most of us realize. Every decision we make, from the smallest habits to the biggest turning points, is filtered through the lens of our mindset. If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, or negativity, even the simplest choices feel heavy. But if your mind is filled with confidence and optimism, you begin to approach life with clarity and courage. Picture two students walking into the same classroom. One says to himself, "I'm not smart enough, I will probably fail." The other whispers, "I may not know everything, but I can learn and improve." They sit through the same lessons, read the same books, and take the same exams. Yet their experiences are worlds apart. The first student, trapped by a negative mindset, sees obstacles in every page. The second, guided by a growth mindset, sees opportunities in every challenge. And over time, those small daily choices, whether to study with focus or give up in frustration, shape their future in completely different directions. Mindset is like a compass. It points you toward the path you believe in, and from that point, your choices naturally follow. If you believe life is unfair, you may choose to complain instead of act. But if you believe life rewards effort, you will choose to work harder, learn faster, and keep going when others stop. There is a famous idea that says, "Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they shape your destiny." At the heart of it all is mindset, because your thoughts are the starting line of every choice. Think of someone who wakes up each morning and chooses gratitude instead of complaint. That single choice affects the tone of the entire day. It changes how they speak to others, how they handle problems, and even how much peace they carry within themselves. One positive thought at the start of the day can shift the direction of dozens of choices that follow. This is why a positive mindset is not just about thinking happy thoughts, it is about setting a foundation that influences the way you live. It is the seed that grows into wise decisions, healthy habits, and ultimately, a better life. The way positivity spreads to others is one of the most powerful truths about human connection. Our moods, words, and energy are contagious. Just as a single candle can light many others without losing its flame, one person's positive outlook can brighten the lives of countless people around them. Imagine walking into a room where everyone looks tired, frustrated, and worn down. The air feels heavy, and conversations are filled with complaints. Then, one person enters with a genuine smile, a calm presence, and encouraging words. Slowly, the mood begins to shift. Shoulders relax, laughter returns, and people feel lighter without even realizing why. That is the silent power of positivity. It spreads without asking permission, and it heals without making a sound. There is a story told about a teacher who always greeted her students with warmth, even when she herself was struggling. One day, a student asked why she always smiled. She answered, "Because one smile can change someone's day, and one changed day can change a life." Years later, that student admitted her teacher's smile was what gave him hope during his darkest times. What started as a small act of positivity rippled into a lasting impact. Negativity works the same way. It drains energy, spreads fear, and pulls people down. But positivity has the opposite effect. It lifts, strengthens, and inspires. When you choose to think and act positively, you are not just helping yourself. You are also giving others permission to believe in hope. Books on human behavior often highlight something fascinating. People mirror the emotions around them. When you are calm, others calm down. When you are enthusiastic, others catch your enthusiasm. This is why leaders, teachers, parents, and even friends who choose positivity create environments where others feel safe, motivated, and valued. Think of positivity as a ripple in water. One drop creates circles that expand far beyond where the drop first fell. A kind word, a patient response, or an encouraging gesture can travel farther than you will ever know. Sometimes your small act of positivity may be the very reason someone else decides not to give up. This is why carrying a positive mindset is not just a personal responsibility, it is a gift to the world. When you shine, you give others the courage to shine too. The link between resilience and a hopeful outlook is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise stronger after every fall. Resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending struggles do not exist. It is about facing them with the inner belief that tomorrow can still be better than today. Hope is the fuel that keeps resilience alive, and without it, the human spirit quickly weakens. Think of a tree standing in the middle of a storm. The wind bends its branches, the rain beats against its leaves, and yet it does not break because its roots run deep. Hope is like those roots. It anchors us when life tries to tear us apart. Without roots, the tree would fall. Without hope, we would give up. There is a story of a young man who dreamed of becoming a doctor, but he failed his entrance exam 3 times. Many told him to abandon the dream, to choose something easier. Yet every failure only strengthened his resolve. He held on to the hope that one day his effort would bear fruit. Years later, not only did he become a doctor, but he also dedicated his career to helping students who had failed like him, teaching them that setbacks are not the end, they are training for resilience. His hope turned his pain into a path for others. Hope gives you the courage to take one more step when your body says, "Stop." It whispers, "This moment is hard, but it is not permanent." And that whisper is often what gives birth to resilience. People who lack hope see failure as the final word. People who carry hope see failure as a chapter in a bigger story. Even science shows that hopeful people recover faster from illness, adapt better to stress, and find solutions quicker than those who give in to despair. Why? Because the mind that believes in a better outcome pushes the body and spirit to keep trying. Resilience is not about never falling. It is about rising each time you fall. And the strength to rise always comes from hope. When you choose to believe that life still has something better ahead, you discover an unbreakable force within yourself. That is the link. Resilience grows in the soil of hope, and together they create lives that cannot be easily broken. The importance of gratitude in building happiness is often overlooked, yet it is one of the most powerful keys to a fulfilled life. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you when something good happens. It is about training your heart to recognize the blessings that already surround you, even in the midst of challenges. Happiness is not found in having everything, but in appreciating what you already have. There is a simple truth. 2 people can live the same life, yet one feels rich while the other feels poor. The difference is not in what they own, but in what they choose to notice. One wakes up and says, "I have nothing," while the other wakes up and says, "I have air to breathe, food to eat, and another chance to live today." The circumstances are the same, but the mindset transforms the experience. A story is told of a woman who kept a small notebook beside her bed. Every night before sleeping, she would write down 3 things she was grateful for, no matter how small. Some days it was something as simple as, "I enjoyed a cup of tea," or "I saw a beautiful sunset." Over time, her outlook on life transformed. She began to see beauty where others saw boredom, lessons where others saw problems, and gifts where others saw nothing at all. Her happiness did not come from a perfect life, but from a grateful heart. Gratitude also has the power to heal relationships. When you express appreciation to others, you strengthen bonds and remind people of their value. A child who hears, "I am proud of you," grows in confidence. A friend who hears, "Thank you for being there," feels cherished. Gratitude spreads warmth, and in return, it deepens happiness for both the giver and the receiver. Psychologists have even shown that practicing gratitude reduces stress, improves sleep, and increases long-term joy. Why? Because when you focus on what you have, your mind shifts away from what you lack. And that shift is what builds true contentment. Happiness does not wait at the end of some great achievement. It lives in the small moments we often ignore. Gratitude is what unlocks it. When you carry gratitude in your heart, every day becomes a gift, every person becomes a blessing, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow. And in that state of mind, happiness is not something you chase, it is something you live. Why challenges can be opportunities in disguise is a lesson life teaches us again and again, though often in ways we only recognize after the storm has passed. Challenges feel heavy, uncomfortable, and sometimes unbearable, but hidden inside them are gifts we would never discover without the struggle. Think of a piece of coal buried deep in the earth. On the surface it looks ordinary, rough, and without value, but when it is pressed under immense pressure for years, it transforms into a diamond. The pressure, which seemed destructive, was actually the very force that unlocked its true beauty. In the same way, challenges in our lives apply pressure that can bring out strength, wisdom, and resilience we never knew we had. There was once a young artist who dreamed of painting, but every gallery rejected his work. He was crushed and tempted to quit. Instead, he asked himself, "What is this challenge trying to teach me?" He decided to refine his style, to dig deeper into his creativity. Years later, those very rejections became the reason he developed a unique approach that set him apart from others. What seemed like failure at first was the doorway to his success. Challenges also test the depth of our character. When everything is easy, we do not grow. Growth happens when we are stretched, when we are pushed beyond comfort, when we are forced to face what we fear. A person who has walked through fire carries a strength and wisdom that cannot be learned from books alone. History is filled with men and women who turned obstacles into opportunities, leaders who faced defeat but rose stronger, inventors who failed 1,000 times before discovering something revolutionary, ordinary people who endured hardship but emerged with extraordinary courage. Their stories remind us that challenges are not roadblocks. They are stepping stones to something greater. When we shift our perspective, even pain becomes a teacher. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we can ask, "What can I learn? How can I grow?" That shift turns suffering into strength and setbacks into setups for something better. The truth is, life's most valuable lessons often come wrapped in difficulty. And those who choose to look beyond the struggle discover that challenges, far from being curses, are often the very opportunities that shape their destiny. How surrounding yourself with good energy changes. Your path is something most people only realize after they've spent too long in the wrong company. The truth is, the people and environments we allow into our lives act like mirrors. They reflect back to us the energy we carry, and they influence the direction we take, often without us even noticing. Imagine a person trying to climb a mountain. If they are surrounded by companions who say, "You can't do it, it's too high, turn back," their spirit weakens and they may give up halfway. But if they are surrounded by people who say, "Keep going, you're stronger than you think, the view will be worth it," their energy rises and they find strength they didn't know they had. The climb is the same, but the company makes all the difference. There was a boy who loved to play the violin, but his friends laughed at him. Embarrassed, he almost abandoned his dream. Later, he met a teacher who not only encouraged him, but surrounded him with other young musicians who shared the same passion. In that new circle, he felt inspired instead of ashamed. Years later, that boy became a celebrated performer. His path changed, not because his talent suddenly appeared, but because he surrounded himself with energy that nourished it. Good energy doesn't just come from people, it comes from environments, from the words you hear, the content you consume, and the habits you build. If your surroundings are filled with negativity, gossip, or doubt, that energy will quietly drain you. But if you fill your world with encouragement, uplifting voices, and people who believe in growth, your path naturally shifts toward progress and fulfillment. Books on success often emphasize this simple truth. You become like the people you spend the most time with. If you want to be hopeful, surround yourself with the hopeful. If you want to be disciplined, stay close to the disciplined. If you want to shine with positivity, walk with those who carry light. Surrounding yourself with good energy does not mean avoiding challenges or never facing negativity. It means choosing a circle that lifts you higher instead of pulling you down. Over time, that choice shapes your mindset, your habits, and ultimately, your destiny. When you walk with those who carry good energy, your path becomes clearer, your spirit becomes stronger, and your journey becomes lighter. That is how good energy, once welcomed into your life, quietly changes everything. The truth that a positive mind leads to a positive life is the heart of everything we have been building toward. Life is not always easy, and it is certainly not always fair, but the way we experience it is shaped far more by our mind than by our circumstances. A person with a negative mind can live in comfort and still feel miserable, while someone with a positive mind can face hardship and still find reasons to smile. Think of the mind as a lens. If the lens is dirty, everything you see appears dark and unclear. But if the lens is clean, the same world suddenly looks brighter, sharper, and full of possibility. Your thoughts are that lens. When you think positively, you do not erase difficulties, but you change the way you see them, and that changes the life you live. There was once a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. Many around her said, "This is terrible, you are finished." And yes, she could have believed that, sinking into despair. But instead she told herself, maybe this ending is the beginning of something better. With that mindset, she started exploring new skills, met new people, and eventually opened a small business that brought her more fulfillment than her old job ever had. What looked like a disaster became a doorway, all because her positive mind guided her into a positive life. A positive mind also attracts positive experiences. When you expect goodness, you notice it more. When you believe people can be kind, you treat them with kindness, and they often return it. When you approach challenges with hope, you discover solutions instead of excuses. Over time, these small shifts accumulate into a life that feels lighter, more meaningful, and filled with purpose. This does not mean you will never feel pain or sadness. A positive life is not about pretending that suffering does not exist. It is about refusing to let suffering define you. It is about choosing light even when shadows surround you, about finding lessons where others see only loss, and about holding on to hope even when everything tells you to give up. The truth is simple but powerful. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Build it with fear, and you will live in walls of limitation. Build it with faith, gratitude, and courage, and you will live in a world of possibility. A positive mind does not guarantee a perfect life, but it guarantees a life worth living, one filled with meaning, resilience, and joy. And so the circle completes itself. Positive mind, positive vibes, positive life. It is not just a phrase, it is a way of living that can transform everything.